the odor, burnt tires, and appeals to keep calm, and prayers are being voiced by clergymen of different confessions, and the self defense commanders are shouting commands. But of course, none of this is happening in Maidan now. There are people who are at the same time joyful and sorrowful. They are singing songs, they are chanting glory to Ukraine. In one word, this is the same Maidan, and this is a very different Maidan. You have seen and you are going to see again the installation which is put on here. There are screens showing the portraits of the people who perished, the people we are paying tribute to today. They come coming out as if from the shadow, and they grow increasingly bright, and we can discern their names on the screens. This is one more feature which makes today different from what we are accustomed to, because normally when people say glory to the heroes, we mean some abstract personalities. Now in the right bottom corner you can see those portraits of the heroes of Maidan whom we know by name. And we're going to recall them once again by name, each and every one of them. This ocean of people on Maidan is out there, and as I said, there is a stage, and obviously officials and governmental personalities will be here. There will be representatives of embassies, but the main people on this stage are the relatives of the heroes whose faces you are seeing now. Those who laid down the most precious thing that they had here. And not just here, because people were being killed in different places. Some people were killed in the places we don't know. They were brought to the hospitals, and within several days it was impossible even to recognize their faces or to identify their names. But nevertheless, all of them are heroes of the Maidan. And today, on the 20th of February, we mark the first anniversary of the most dramatic and the most tragic chapter of Maidan saga, when basically armless protesters who at best were protected by wooden shields were being killed. Some people say that they had hunters' rifles with them, but those could have been just individual, very few people. Most of them were armed with cobblestones and with deep conviction that they're there for a right cause. And it is here, on this section of the former Institutska Street, and now as we know, it is called the Heavenly 100 Alley. This is where all this happened, and those who were eyewitnesses of those events find it very difficult and painful to be here today, because obviously they are reliving what they experienced a year ago. Now we can see on the stage family members of those who perished on Maidan. Of course, they're not the people who are accustomed to publicity. They're just ordinary folks from different villages, towns, and cities of Ukraine. Just like Maidan gathered people from all across Ukraine, these people who lost their near and dear are here today, and they are the protagonists of today's events. Following the Requiem, we're going to hear one more musical number, the Ukrainian folk song Pливе Кача, which has become an unofficial hymn to the memory of the Heavenly Hundred and all those who perished on Maidan. It's going to be performed by Pikardiyska Tertia group. And then there will be a march across all the places where the Ukrainian heroes died. And the relatives of the heroes, together with the president, will cover this short way along the alley of the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred. I guess they will go as far as Mikhailivska Square. Mikhailivska Square is also a very symbolic place for all the veterans of Maidan. This is a place where people gathered after the brutal dispersal of the peaceful student demonstration on Maidan. This is the place where the St. Michael Cathedral is located, and this is the cathedral where the wounded found shelter from the Berkut riot police. That was the place where the wounded were treated. Basically, the whole of the city of Kyiv was engulfed by those events. And all the residents of the capital and all those who came from elsewhere, not all of them could spend all 3 months here. Obviously, people were coming and going. Some people were coming here for a certain period of time and then were rotated. And then here on Maidan, there were certain communities of people from certain areas. People were getting together along the lines of their geography. And this geography that represented the Maidan activists was most diverse. Even though the metro station Khreshchatyk is closed, but people keep coming to Maidan, and I'm sure that many more are going to join us. This is the National Dumka Choir and the Symphonic Orchestra that I told you about, together with the soloists. They're getting ready to perform the Requiem. You can see a child with the certificates of the awards, apparently of her father, and the father is not here. So it goes. And this is not the end of the story. A year ago, it seemed like this tragedy finally ended in our triumph. But it wasn't the case. It proved to be just the beginning. And day in and day out, we keep receiving tragic news about the death of more and more heroes of Ukraine, now at the front line, now by the hands of foreign aggressors. The stage is nothing lofty, and right here there is the button which will be used by the president to switch on the monument all the beams of dignity. The
Slava
President of Ukraine,
Україні!
Petro Poroshenko. Glory to Ukraine.
Боріться, поборете.
Fight and you shall win.
Вам Бог помагає.
God is helping you.
За вас правда,
For truth
за
and
вас
justice
слава
cannot fail,
і воля святая.
and they are on
Ці
your
слова
side.
Тараса Шевченка, дорогі мої
Those words
співвітчизники,
by Taras Shevchenko,
стали
my dear compatriots,
духовним заповітом
have become
Сергія
a
Нікояна,
spiritual
одного з
testimony
перших
of Serhiy
героїв
Nikoyan,
Небесної
one of the
Сотні.
first heroes of the
А
Heavenly Hundred.
скількох ще ми втратили потім? Вони
We've
стояли
lost
тут,
many more heroes afterwards.
пліч-опліч,
They were standing here,
представники різних
shoulder by
етносів,
shoulder, side by side, people
віросповідань,
of different
вихідців
faiths
зі Сходу
and
і з
nationalities,
Заходу,
people from east
півночі
and west,
і півдня,
from north and south,
які говорили українською,
who spoke Ukrainian,
російською
Russian,
та іншими мовами.
and other languages,
Їх об'єднала спільна батьківщина,
but they were united by the
спільна
same
вітчизна.
motherland.
Їх об'єднала Україна,
They were united by Ukraine.
палка любов до неї і
The
героїчна
fire of love
боротьба
they had for
за
Ukraine
сповнене
and the
гідності
heroic fight
європейське
for a
майбутнє нашої
dignified
держави.
European future of our country.
Географія цих скорботних
The geography
і водночас славних
of
днів
those sorrowful but at the same time glorious
охоплює всю
days
Україну.
covers
На українській
all
Донеччині,
Ukraine.
в
In
селі
Ukraine's
Світле
Donetsk Oblast, in
Добропільського
the
району
village of Svitle,
відкрили меморіальну
Dobropil
дошку
raion,
односельцю
a memorial
майданівцю
plaque
Володимиру
was
Наумову,
opened in honor of
який загинув
Vladimir
тут,
Naumov,
в Києві,
comes from that village but
18
was
лютого.
killed here in Kyiv on the
Та на
18th
тлі
of
подій на
February.
Донбасі ми з вами
But against the backdrop
добре
what's going
розуміємо,
on in Donbass now,
чому ці події
we all understand
і
only
нині
too well
для нас, для
why
всіх,
these
для
events
українців і
for
для
all of
всього
us,
світу
for all Ukrainians and for the
є
entire
глибоко
world
символічними.
are
Шановні
profoundly
товариство,
symbolic.
тут, на Майдані, ми боролися
Ladies and gentlemen,
не
here
тільки і не
on
стільки
Maidan, we were
з
fighting
маріонетками
not
Януковича,
only against and not that much
адже
against
тепер зрозуміло,
Yanukovych's
що
puppets.
російська агресія
Because now
проти
it is
України
obvious that Russia's aggression against
почалася
Ukraine
із наступу на Вільнюс,
started from onslaught,
коли 29 числа,
from the offensive
29
on Vilnius, when
листопада,
on the 29th of
Україна мала
November,
підписати в Вільнюсі
Ukraine was supposed
історичну
to
угоду про
sign in
асоціацію.
Vilnius a historic
І
association
21
agreement with the
листопада
EU.
не
And on the
український
21st
уряд
of November,
приймає рішення зупинити рух країни
the
в
government,
Європу.
which was not fit to be called
На
Ukrainian,
цьому святому
decides not
місці
to do that, not to
одразу
go
же
to
з
Europe.
протестом
And on this sacred place,
вийшли небайдужі.
people took to the
Революція
streets, took
гідності
to the
стала
Maidan
першою
en masse.
і
The
головне
Revolution of Dignity
виграшною
became the
битвою у
first
війні за нашу
and
незалежність.
victorious war
І
for
коли
our
ворог
independence.
побачив,
And when the enemy
що мирний аншлюз
saw
України в митний союз
the
захлинувся,
peaceful
він
Anschluss
вирішив танками і
failed,
градами
they decided
розчленувати
to
Україну.
use tanks and
На цій
Grad
авантюрі
multiple launch rocket systems
також не
to
довелося стати
dissect
реальністю.
Ukraine. But that was not
Новостворена
meant to
українська
happen.
армія
The newly formed Ukrainian
за
army,
всенародної волонтерської підтримки
backed up with all
зупинила
national
ворога на
voluntary
далекосхідних
support,
рубежах.
stopped the
Ненароджені для
enemy
війни українці,
on the eastern borders.
мирні українці,
Peaceful Ukrainians
бо ми є
who were
мирний
not
народ,
born for wars,
взяли до рук
because we are
зброю
a
і
peace-loving
зупинили
nation,
добре вишколену армію,
took up weapons
одну із
and
найпотужніших в
stopped
світі і на континенті.
one of the strongest military
Саме
powers
подвиг
in
Небесної
the world
Сотні
and on the continent. And
надихнув
it was
сотні
the
тисяч
heroic
українців
deed of the Heavenly
на боротьбу з
Hundred that
російською
inspired
агресією.
hundreds of thousands of
А
Ukrainians to
щонайменше
fight against
4
the Russian
тисячі
aggression.
членів
And at least
самооборони Майдана,
4,000 members of the
сотні
self-defense
нашої з
units of
вами
Maidan,
самооборони
of our
вирушили на фронт,
self-defense,
де не на життя, а на смерть
went to the front line
боронять незалежність своєї
where
країни
they're fighting for independence of their country, sacrificing their very lives in the fight against the enemy horde. We're
значно
confronted with
чисельніший,
a
ніж ми.
powerful enemy,
І, на
which
жаль,
is
набагато
much
краще
more
озброєний.
numerous than we are and much
Плани напасти на нас він
better
виношував
equipped
роками.
and outfitted than we are.
Він
They
готував
had
саме для цього
harbored plans to attack
свої
us
збройні
for many
сили.
years. It is for this
І
purpose that they
формував
had
у
trained
нас
their military.
всередині
And they
країни.
formed within our
колону.
country the fifth column.
Адже ми все рівно сильніші.
But we
Бо з
are
нами
nevertheless
правда.
stronger than they
І
are.
ми сильніші.
Because
Бо
truth
з нами
is on our side.
Бог.
We are stronger
І для нас
because
ця війна
God is on our side.
За свою
And for
землю,
us,
за
this
нашу
is a
землю
war for our land,
є війна справедлива.
for our native
А для
land.
супротивника
Therefore, this is a just
ні.
war. But for the
І це
enemy,
визнано
it is not.
всім світом.
And this
Бо
has been
весь світ
recognized by
зараз
the whole world.
є
Because
солідарним
the
з
whole
Україною.
world now shows
післязавтра, до
solidarity
речі,
with Ukraine.
22 лютого
The day after tomorrow, on the
на моє
22nd of February,
запрошення, на
at
ваше
my
запрошення, на
invitation,
запрошення
at
народу
your
України,
invitation, at the invitation of the
сюди
people of
приїдуть
Ukraine,
європейські
Ukraine
лідери,
is going to be visited by
європейські
European
президенти,
leaders, European
прем'єр-міністри,
presidents, prime ministers,
представники влади країн Євросоюзу
representatives of
на
governments,
це святе місце, щоб
EU
вшанувати подвиг нашого народу
countries, to
і
pay
віддати
tribute
належне
to our heroes
пам'яті українських героїв.
and to pay homage to the
Але не
memory
тільки для цього.
of Ukrainian heroes, but
Підкреслити
not just for
своєю
that,
присутністю,
but to emphasize with
що
their
двері
very
в
presence
Європейський Союз для
that the
України
door to the
відкриті.
European Union
І це
for
визнання
Ukraine
подвигу
is opened. And this is
українських
the
героїв,
recognition
визнання тої
of
ціни,
the heroic
який
deed of
український народ
Ukraine's
заплатив
heroes and the recognition
право
of the
мати
dear
європейську
price that the
перспективу.
Ukrainian nation paid for the right to have
Вистояти,
a European.
зберегти державу ми
prospect.
зможемо лише за
We will
умови,
be able to preserve
збережемо
our nation,
єдність,
our country and our state
коли ми
if we
уникнемо
remain
будь-яких внутрішніх
united,
чвар,
if we avoid
коли будь-яка п'ята
internal
колона не
infighting,
дасть нам
when we
розколоти нашу
prevent
єдність.
any fifth column from
Я впевнений,
splitting
що
up
саме так
our
і буде.
unity. And I'm sure that this is going to
Ми
be
це
the case.
продемонстрували на фронті
We demonstrated that at the front
і
line.
зараз
And now
аж ніяк не дамо. Не
We are not
допустимо внутрішнього фронту, над
to
відкриттям
allow
якого
an internal front to
дуже
be opened
наполегливо
here,
працюють
even though
спецслужби
the
сусідньої
enemy is
держави,
working
сіючи
hard
страх,
to launch this front
паніку,
line within Ukraine,
зневіру в
trying
наших силах
to
і недовіру
sow the seeds
українців
of panic
один
and
до одного.
disbelief of Ukrainians
Ми
and
зламаємо
mistrust
цей
to each other.
сценарій
We're going to
і переможемо,
break that
як
scenario
перемагали до сих
and we
пір.
will emerge
І
victorious
як
the
би не
way
було складно,
we've emerged victorious
які б ще
before. And no
випробування
matter
не
how
випали
tough
на
it
нашу
is,
долю,
no matter how difficult are the
я обіцяю
trials
вам, я
that
викладуся до
might
максимуму, щоб ті великі
befall us in the
жертви
future, I will do my
які за
very
останній рік
utmost
поніс наш
to make
народ,
sure that the victims
не
suffered by
виявилися
our
змарнованими.
nation are not
Зупинимо
going
війну.
to be in vain.
І вже за кілька
We
років
will
кожен
stop the
помітить,
war.
як
And
змінюється
within just a
Україна,
few years, everyone will
І ми
notice
кожною
how
клітиною
Ukraine is
відчуваємо,
being changed.
як народ вимагає
We feel
прискорити зміни.
with
Однією рукою
our souls
відстрілюючись від
how
агресора,
people want to
іншою
carry
пришвидшуємо
out reform.
маховик
With
незворотніх реформ.
one hand, we protect our land from the enemy. With the other hand, we
Дорогі
carry out
друзі,
and
дорогі
implement reform.
співвітчизники,
In
ми
the
з
year
вами зберегли
2014,
Україну.
we preserved Ukraine.
15-й рік стане
The
вирішальним
year
в
2015
започаткуванні
is going to become
фундаментальних змін
decisive in
в
putting in place
будівництві нової держави.
fundamental
І я
changes
впевнений,
in
Україна
the
буде жити в мирі,
development of our country.
розвиватися
And I'm
і
sure that Ukraine
рухатись
is going to live in
в
peace.
обраному
It's going
європейському
to develop
напрямку.
and move
І
towards
станеться це
Europe
завдяки
in the direction
нашим,
that we have already
нашим з
chosen.
вами
And this will happen
янголам-охоронцям,
due
героям
to our
Небесної
guardian
Сотні
angels, the heroes
і
of the
багатьом
heavenly
сотням
hundred,
лицарів, які
and
віддали
due
найцінніше,
to
що вони
many
мають,
hundreds of
своє
knights
життя
of dignity who
за Україну.
laid down their lives
Дорогі друзі,
for
ми всі
Ukraine.
у вічному боргу перед
Dear
матерями і
friends,
батьками
we're all deeply
за
indebted
те,
to the
що вони
mothers
виростили
and fathers
мужніх
of
і
those
прекрасних
who
синів
brought
і
up
доньок.
courageous
І
and wonderful
схиляємося
citizens
перед
of our
дітьми,
country.
що
And we
втратили
bow
батьків.
our heads to the children
Прошу
who lost their parents.
Владислава Ципуна,
I'd like to
сина
invite
Героя
Vladislav
Небесної
Tsipun,
Сотні,
a son of the hero
Героя
of the
України
Heavenly
Андрія
Hundred,
Ципуна,
of the hero of Ukraine,
запустити
Andriy Tsipun,
промені гідності.
to light
І
up
з кожного
the
місця
beams of
минулого
dignity.
року,
And
де
from
розлучалися з тілом світла душа,
each place
злетить
where the
до
light
небес
soul of heroes
пам'ятний
departed
промінь
with the
гідності.
body of heroes,
І
we
згадаємо
will light
кожного,
up beings of dignity, and recall all those who gave their lives for Ukraine.
Слава Україні!
Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.
Ей, плине кача, о ти сині, плине кача, о ти сині. Мамко ж моя, не лай мені, мамко ж моя, не лай мені. Ей, залаєш ми в злу годину, залаєш ми в злу годину. Сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину. Ей, погину я в чужім краю, погину я в чужім краю. Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Хто ж ми буде брати яму? Ей, виберуть ми чужі люди, виберуть ми чужі люди. Ці не жаль ти, мамко, буде, ці не жаль ти, мамко, буде. Ей, якби ж мені, синку, не жаль, якби ж мені, синку, не жаль. Ти ж на моїм серцю лежав, ти